Okay, so we've just stitched a billion rows of top stitches all the way around our brim. Grab your top, the top of your hat, and now we're going to attach the brim to the top. We're almost finished with this. So what we want to do is find our quarter points. So we still have our back seam, so we can stick a pin or a clip in that. And we want to fold it in half, fold the brim in half to find the opposing point. And then we also need to find our quarter points. So this is the same process we did before when we attached the top of the hat to the crown. And then we need to do the same thing here, quarter points. Okay, so now with our rights together, we are going to put the brim and the crown, brim over the crown with the rights together, and we're gonna match the quarter points and the seams, and we're gonna pin them. So this is the same process we did before. So putting my back seams together here. And I'm gonna put my fronts together. Second. My quarters together. Okay. And then you know the drill. We need to just ease the hat, the rest of the hat pieces together here so that they match up, and use a million clips or pins to get it to lay flat for you. We are almost done with our hats, which is just really exciting because that means you'll be able to wear your hat soon. Okay, once you have everything clipped or pinned, we're going to go around and stitch around this top and the brim at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, okay? Let's do that now. Okay, this is probably one of the trickiest parts of the entire hat, so don't be scared. We're gonna go slow. You can do this. 1/2 inch seam allowance. Just gonna do our best here to not jumble stuff up. Okay, so just try to go slowly so you can make sure it's smooth and not bumpy underneath. Half of this is just kind of fighting with it a little. And we're almost back to the start. right. Hopefully you don't have any bunches or weirdness in your hat. If you do, just rip it out and restitch that area. You're good. All right, it should start to look like a hat here. And hopefully you don't have any bunches or anything that you don't like. You can always work to remove, you know, those bunches. Just rip out your stitching if you need to. But I'm really happy with how my hat's looking. Okay, so flip it over to the other side. And what we need to do now is trim our seam allowances down to approximately in half. Just make sure you don't cut through your stitching. That would be really bad. All right, and once you have trimmed down your seam allowance, it's time for our bias binding. If you are using store-bought bias binding, then you can skip the next video. I'm just gonna really quickly show you how to make the bias binding from scratch. Okay, so the easiest way that I know of to make single fold bias tape is if you have one of these handy bias tape makers. You're gonna slide the piece that you cut in through the maker, and then you're just going to press. And this is you just need single fold bias tape. This will get it all lined up. And you're just gonna press it until you've finished the other side. You've done the whole strip. I mean, you can also measure this, measure your fabric and put it in thirds and stuff, but I think it's all kind of a pain compared to this. All right, and it's ready to use. Okay, sorry if this is hard to see with my lining fabric, but what we're gonna do is take our single fold bias tape and we can attach it. I mean, we can simply just fold it in half, honestly. I think this is the easiest way to do it, and just clip or pin around it, and then we only have to stitch one time. So just basically you're just folding the edges of the tape over the center. And we're gonna stitch it on. If you have a slightly wider tape, you may end up with a little more space while you're doing this, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I can zoom in so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. So just taking this bias tape and I'm just folding it over the raw edges of the crown and brim. And I'm clipping it. Kind of sandwiching the raw edges in between the bias tape. And when you get to the end, we can fold our raw edges over just by like 1/4 of an inch and stitch them down. Or I mean, we could always hand stitch them as well, which is I think what the pattern tells you to do. But why hand stitch if you don't have to? Okay, so let's go stitch around this bias tape to keep it down. Okay, so this is the last awkward circle. We're gonna stitch. Last awkward circle. So let's stitch. Actually, I'm not gonna start at the obvious spot, which is where the bias tape ends meet. I'm actually gonna start a little further in because it'll be easier to kind of get started there. And we're just gonna stitch about 1/4 inch from the folded over edge. Just once again, do your best, go slowly. Just make sure the fold is folded the whole time. I know this part is really fiddly, so just try to do your best here. All right, so I've got my bias tape all the way around, and I had my ends joined as I stitched. If you weren't able to do that, you'll just want to hand stitch those little ends together so all the raw edges are closed. It will walk you through how to do that in the pattern instructions. And you can feel free to clip any raw threads you've got hanging. And now you've got a beautiful new sun hat that you can wear everywhere. And here's the outside of my sun hat. I know it's a little bit boring on the outside, but the inside is a pop of color. And hopefully you love your hat. Be sure to show us your makes in the RP sewing group. And also stay tuned for a hack video, which is next, and it's where I put little grommets in the sides of the hat so that you can string a ribbon or a bow through it to make it more of a gardening hat so it won't blow off your head or fall off while you're gardening. We have come to the end of our sun hat sew along. I hope you loved this quick and easy to sew project, and that you'll use this pattern and these sew along videos over and over again to make the sun hats of your dreams for every member of the family. So if you'd like to see my finished hat on, let me put this on for you. I absolutely love it. I think it's just perfect. I love that it is beige on the outside, so it's just perfect for almost everything that I can wear it with. But it's got a really fun lining on the inside. So I love it. And I've paired it here with my summer maxi dress, another one of my favorite patterns from Rebecca Page. So if you love your sun hat, as much as I love both of my sun hats, I should say, you can feel free to share all about your sun hat journey in the RP Sew-Alongs group on Facebook or on the RP Sewing group on Facebook as well. And if you needed any help during this process, I hope you checked out the RP Sewing group. It's such an awesome place to get help, ideas, tips from our moderators and our wonderful community members. It's just a great, great place. And it's a great place to experience some of the other patterns that Rebecca Page has to offer. So enjoy your sun hat. I hope you have lots of fun activities planned and adventures.